And welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of the Dead Guys Don't Bust Show, a baseball card podcast from the Dead Ball Era Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Sullivan, at Ryan Sullivan MLB on Twitter. And with me is MLB certified agent and legitimate baseball card expert, Joshua Kusnick. Josh, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Just living my life in quarantine in Florida.
Yeah, it's about the same up in here in Delaware. Not much going on and too many people spreading it. So
I would argue to say, and that's not the point of the podcast, it probably isn't the same in where you are than where I am.
I'm guessing that's probably true. Our populations are slightly different.
Yeah, we're going to die here. You've got a chance.
I've got a small chance.
You know, it's funny. You don't even need to socially distance. You just need to live there.
Correct. There is a lot of truth in that. So we are on episode 2. Last episode, I should say, we covered Lee Nuage, former Los Angeles Dodgers prospect. And this week, we are going to be covering Doug Million, left-handed pitcher, former Colorado Rockies prospect, Florida high school kid. This was a big-time prospect. I remember Doug Million's name from, 1994's draft, I want to say.
Yep. He got drafted ahead of Paul Konerko and Nomar. That happened. He was a big lefty. He was very similar to a Cole Hamels type, or could have been. He was Baseball America like top 100 player 3 years or 2 years in a row. I don't remember, but he was a top 100 prospect at least 2 years. And he was like the future of the Rockies with Todd Helton, Jamie Wright, and who was the other big guy they had there? Nephi Perez was a guy they loved. And I just remember that like being the core of the Rockies. And Million coming up like the same time Helton was. Like that was like the pitcher-hitter combo back then that was supposed to like make a difference for them with Larry Walker and with all those guys. Like imagine Doug Million joining Denny Nagel and Mike Hampton. Like maybe it would have been different. Who knows? But anyway, Million was a guy that I remember. I'm 38 years old, and I remember being 12 and buying the signature rookie set. The first year had Jeter in it, and everybody wanted the Jeter even then. Like, that was the card. But, I mean, it wasn't worth as much then as it is now, but it's funny to think that Derek Jeter signed 8,650 cards in a room once. That's hilarious. But Doug Million signed the next year for that same set, and I remember getting this really cool card of him in the Sarasota jersey. It looked like he was wearing like an Oriole jersey in high school. It was a cool card. It was in the same set of Paul Wilson, Josh Booty, Antone Williamson, McKay Christensen, Nomar, Konerko, Jason Varitek. Ben Grieve was the number 2 pick that year. And there were a lot of guys that year. And Todd Walker, he famously was good once. And anyway, that set, it was 100 cards. Doug Million was in it. And I remember just collecting a lot of Doug Millions, and I wrote to him in the minors when I would go through the mail and get autographs, and he would send back. And this is a true story. He went to dinner one night after answering some fan mail, I have learned, because someone in our Facebook group got a letter from Doug Million on this day, postmarked from this day, and then got it 2 days after he passed, his fan mail back. True story from our group. And Million went to play trivia after signing some fan mail and having a normal day with a teammate, and then had an asthma attack and died at either the hospital or on the way to the hospital, and it just died of an asthma attack. And it was tragic then, and we didn't have social media then, but like it was news, like having a top prospect just die. That didn't happen. And
I remember it being on the crawl of SportsCenter. This was news.
Yeah, for sure. And
number 7 prospect. He was the 19th overall prospect in the minors at one point. This guy was.
Yeah, no, he was not some fringe guy. This guy was going to play in the big leagues a really long time. He was a generally good dude.
Compare the top left-handed prospects in baseball right now. That's who Doug Million was 25 years ago.
Seriously, imagine like this happened to Clayton Kershaw. Same type of prospect Kershaw was. Like, not obviously.
Adrian Morejon, somebody in that ilk. Imagine if they just poof.
Yeah, and it just happened, and I remember it was a huge tragedy, and there were patches, and the players all knew him from camp, and it was horrible. And as a kid growing up, seeing someone that young die was staggering, especially a baseball fan like me who'd been through what I'd been through. And it was just weird. And I had a ton of baseball cards because back then minor league guys could have big league cards. So he had Topps cards, he had Fleer cards, Fleer minor league Fleer minor league cards, Fleer Excel, not Fleer. So you had Fleer Excel, Bowman, Topps, Bowman Chrome, Bowman Best, Topps Update. He had a bunch of cards. Like, this guy was in everything. Like, all the sets that the top prospects were in that are valuable now, like Jeter, he had all of those cards too. And I got a bunch of them autographed, and I've bought some more, and I'm buying them now, and I buy a lot of them all the time because, like I said, I love preserving history, and the goal of the group is to help people finish sets. And with Million, you can see, at least here, I think, he's got this classic draft images card. He's got his Upper Deck minor league card here, which has different parallels. He has this 94 Excel. He's got a collector's choice card, which is a major league issue, which is difficult to get him on because he wasn't alive long to sign those big league issues. He signed tons of minor league cards when you asked him to. They're not that rare. He was a great signer. But the major league issues didn't exist that long, so he didn't have much time to sign them. His Upper Deck SP minor league card's rare. That set was rare. His Bowman Best is rare because that was a major league card. His Top Stadium Club cards are rare because those are major league cards. Upper Deck minor league card is cool looking, but not all that rare. And then for this page, this is his Bowman rookie. That one's rare. Autograph's not that great on it. Bowman Best again. His Top Stadium Club minor league card, not rare at all. His most common card. This is probably his second rarest card. That is a card, if you can see it there, of Doug Million, Rafael Orlano, Ray Ricken, and a young Indians prospect named Bartolo Colon, who is right next to Doug Million.
Show that card again, Josh, but because it wasn't the greatest. Jeez.
You see it?
Yeah, now I do. That's crazy.
So, right. So that was a major league issue. He had less than a year to sign that card. It's very rare. However, someone in our group found something even rarer. He has a triple card with Damian Moss, the former Braves pitcher, and Doug Million from 1997, where he maybe had a month to sign that card. Someone in our group has that card signed. Up until a month ago, I didn't think that card existed. So the group's been pretty cool, uncovering things in history that previously were unknown. I've got tons of stuff like that. It's cool seeing other people have stuff that I don't even have. I offer to buy it. I'd buy it tomorrow from that guy, 100%. But it's stuff like that I like collecting because you can chase all the Mike Trout inserts you want. But there's only one Doug Million signed card from 97 in the whole world. And there's enough people that want that. I want it. The guy who has it wants it. One other person wants it. There's one card and three of us want it. So that's how that works. You don't need a million people to want it. So Doug Million would have been a really good baseball player if the Rockies were able to have traded. Like, let's say he ended up on the Marlins, he could have been on the 97 World Series team. You know, those Rocky teams that made the playoffs, he could have been there. And he was filthy. And if he stayed healthy outside of what he went through, I mean, imagine what kind of prospect he would have been. With asthma and having passed away from it, he got to accomplish what he did. And, I mean, being disabled myself, again, from that perspective, seeing a guy disabled, you know, being taken out from that disability sucks because, you know, it sucks a little worse because he overcame so much to get to where he did. And I know it's hindsight, but you can't help but think that wouldn't happen today. But then, of course, you see in hockey, Rangers' first-round pick, Alexander Cheremono, died on the ice in the KHL while Jaromir Jagr was trying to bring him back to life. So, you know, I could say that, you know, maybe today things would be different. You never know. It's random. You never know. Darryl Kyle went to bed one night. The next morning, he wasn't here anymore. And that's how fast it goes, man. This is fleeting. And baseball always reminds you of mortality. And when these young guys die, it always really shakes it up more. And, I mean, we saw the guy, Tyson Roman, died on 4th of July, right? We're going to cover him. It happened on 4th of July. No one was home. Who's going to remember that? And, you know, people like me do. And I hate when people forget stuff like that. There have been so many times in the group you can speak to this, me talking to people. But from your experience, like, I didn't know Justin Miller died. I didn't know Brian Powell died. I didn't know Ryan Friel passed away. Like, people just don't know. And if they don't know about, like, Andy Marti, or Walter Young, what are they going to remember of Doug Million who didn't get to the big leagues, or Lena Wash who didn't get to the big leagues? So I'm going to keep doing these. I love doing this. And as a fan, I'm going to ask you, like, what do you think of this? Like, in that perspective, everybody knows Million is dead.
I mean, what was that, Josh?
I said, how do you feel about hearing about, like, Doug Million in depth as a fan? Like, did you learn anything from this?
I did, and it's more. I remember Doug Million. I remember a couple of those cards you showed. I didn't obviously have them signed, but I remember those cards. I mean, that's when I was collecting, probably at my peak. And he's one of those guys that I forgot about. You get a driver's license, you meet whatever you do, and the next thing you know, you just kind of forget. And
don't forget in baseball, especially, like back then, again, no Google. We had AOL, and we got some news, Pony Express. But
I mean,
no, but all
baseball America. I mean, yeah.
Right, but players bust all the time. So if you see a guy in a card set and then you never see him in the big leagues, it's not all that weird. But when you find out Ron Walker, Brian Cole, and Doug Million died, you're like, well, what happened? Because people don't know, and I like telling those stories, man. Doug Million he was supposed to be a really good prospect. And if you want to talk about big deal, he was the first Rockies first-round pick pitcher they ever took. He was supposed to be the guy that could just pitch at Coors Field, the old Coors Field. That's how good they thought this guy was. And he only fell in the draft because of signability. And
I mean, he was a cornerstone. He was going to be their cornerstone. Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. It would be like any top 10 pick dying now. It would be the same thing.
And we don't even remember his name, most baseball fans. Probably 99% of us. So.
I mean, can you even imagine if it happened right now to Lewis Roberts?
The amount of coverage, if something like that happened, it would be.
Right. It would be horrible, because it is. And that's the part of me that gets a little angry. I'm happy Lewis Roberts okay. That doesn't make me angry. I'm relieved. What makes me angry is that this happened to someone else, Doug Million. And I'm angry just it's like, oh, well, if that happened to a player today, we never forget. I'm telling you.
Well,
people barely talk about Jose Fernandez other than what happened.
How about Oscar Tavares? We don't talk about him at all. We lost him.
Oscar Tavares has been completely forgotten.
It's amazing.
So
it's supposed to be what Juan Soto is right now in the major leagues.
Him and Juan Soto were very similar players. But anyway, we will keep covering these in depth, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about the card angle, because that's how I learned about these players in the first place before the internet. And getting these cards to these guys was like, you get invested in their careers, and you're like, oh, I'm going to follow this guy, and then they go away, and you don't know why. And I mean, some of these stories you can't even Google. Like I Googled one guy's name, and there was nothing listed about him passing away because I couldn't find his mailing address, and they found no picture when he posted. So I don't like when these guys get forgotten by baseball. I can only do so much. Like, people cover one-game wonders. I think I can cover this niche okay, because it's like hopefully a finite amount of players. This never happens again, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Anything else, Josh, before we get out of here?
No, just go look up Doug Million. I wish there was video footage of him outside of like the commercial stuff. There's some cool stories on the internet about him. And join the Facebook group to hear more of these stories. And we're going to be doing a live one of these at some point, Q&A with fans on Zoom through power.gg. And we had 1,000 members, like I said, today, which is amazing. And I appreciate it for everyone. We're going to keep doing it and giving away cool stuff. And I'll keep posting what I've collected over the last 30 years of my dad.
Well, we are the Dead Guys Don't Bust Show, a baseball card podcast from the Dead Ball Era Podcast Network. I am Ryan Sullivan. That is Joshua Kusnick, and we are done for this week. Bye for now.